Aren't we all sick of Daleks? Haven't they been mishandled for as long as we can remember? Didn't we all groan when we knew they were to be used yet again so soon? Obviously. Oh, and yes, there's a couple of irritating reminders of how Asylum of the Daleks exists in its own continuity bubble, just to get that out of the way now. Well, Moffat didn't write this episode. So, what makes Into the Dalek a triumph?
Well, to begin with, the introduction of the Doctor into the situation. No fanfare, not even the suggestion of the Doctor being recognised, never mind immediately either hailed or feared like some kind of god. Like a classic Doctor, he has to earn the trust of the people on the scene, and we're almost back to the big universe feel of old. It somehow feels like a Tom Baker story, bar the speedy opening. The Time War is unmentioned. We're in a big universe where there's bad guys, and Daleks are the biggest bad guys.
That's one pro. One con, in my opinion, is Danny Pink, a colleague of Clara's at Coal Hill School, and this 21st century Ian Chesterton, possibly, is introduced in this episode. It's nothing against the actor, Samuel Anderson, it's just that although this episode was written by Phil Ford, Danny is a Moffat character in two ways. One, he comes across like a character from the sitcom Coupling, and his first scenes are even structured and cut together that way, and two, he's a former soldier with flashbacks to active service, which makes him interesting, don't get me wrong, it's just also reminiscent of John from Sherlock, and again executed the same way. However, Danny isn't in this episode much, and it's early days. We know what they're doing here. Danny won't know about Clara's double life for a while. Impossible Girl is now English teacher by day, expert space-time travelling fighter of evil by night. But back to prose. How do you use Daleks in a new, fresh and scary way? Can it be done? I grew up with the movie Inner Space, and the thought of giving the inner space treatment to a Dalek. Well, for one thing, ew, and for another, ah! What is the scariest thing about a Dalek? The eye? The gun? The general tankiness? Or is it their mind? How a Dalek thinks has chilled audiences for over half a century. Only this Dalek is good. Except it isn't, it's malfunctioning and wants to exterminate all Daleks. And then it all gets a little bit clever, because just as Daleks were always reflections of ourselves, in this episode the eponymous Dalek is a reflection of the Doctor.
A good Dalek isn't possible. But is the Doctor a good man? Capaldi apparently yelled with joy after shooting his first ever Dalek scene. Only a handful of people know what it feels like actually to play the Doctor and face off with a Dalek. And it must feel like an initiation. The 12th Doctor's mettle is tested. Unintentional pun is unintentional. And if you had any doubts about 12 before, they should definitely be settled by now.
Phil Ford's script sparkles with wit and keeps up a steady pace, rather than a jarring and uneven mishandling of drama and comedy. One slightly worrying thing, however, is how the Doctor treats Clara. The Doctor being darker shouldn't mean treating his companions poorly except for when he needs something from them. If this is a trend we should expect to continue, it will become annoying.